Thanks, Karine. You've looked at this, but the timeline in terms of the interagency group agreeing on protocols or having a better idea on protocols, what is that exactly? And will those be published? Will it be public? Will they be talked about or presented?
You'll definitely hear from us when those protocols are completed or laid, and we'll lay those out. I believe my colleague mentioned later this week, you'll hear what those protocols look like from this interagency team, and so we'll have more to share by the end of the week.
And then if these objects are benign, is there any concern that there was an overreaction in terms of shooting them down?
So I'm not gonna get ahead. I'm not gonna get ahead of what what is actually the final word on this. What we know is the intelligence community is considering as a leading explanation that these could be tied to commercial or research entities and benign. That is something that the intelligence community has looked into. But again, we got to get the debris from the objects that we're trying to we're trying to get out of the locations. Again, because due to the weather condition, it's been very difficult. But clearly, that is a priority as well.
And just one last one on CPI. It's the 7th straight month of a deceleration, but the trend line is moderated a little bit in terms of the overall cooling. Is there any concern that this is a month or this is a PRIT that raises some alarm that maybe some of the progress you guys thought was on a steady pathway isn't?
So a couple of things that I do want to, some top lines that I want to read out. The annual inflation fell for seven straight months. Inflation came down for groceries and food at home last month. Gas prices are down about 160 from their peak. Real wages are up, as I mentioned moments ago, over the last 7 months for working families, even as unemployment remains at its lowest level since 1969 and job growth remains resilient, with more than 500,000 created last month. And we have to remember what the Fed Chair Powell said just last week. The labor market is strong because the economy is strong, and that is an important piece to note. Look, there's still more work to do. You hear us say that often, and there's more work to do as we try to get to a transition of more stable and steady growth. And there are going to be setbacks along the way. We realize that, but there are some good data points here that we feel that it's important to point out, as I just laid out before you. But again, and I've mentioned this before, one of the president's priorities as it comes to the economy is to do everything that he can to lower costs for families, which is why when you talk about junk fees, you've heard the president talk about junk fees recently. That is important to Americans in order to make sure that they are getting lower costs, right? You think about Inflation Reduction Act, you think about creating manufacturing jobs, you think about what he's done to lower the deficit by $1.7 trillion. And he talked about just last week in the State of the Union that his budget that he's going to put forth on March 9th is going to show how he's going to continue to lower the deficit by another $2 trillion. Not going to get ahead of the budget, but that is something that the president is very much top of mind, is how to be fiscally responsible.